Forgiveness is one of the most profound and challenging lessons taught by Jesus during his time on earth. For Jesus, forgiveness was not just an isolated act but a way of life that reflects unconditional love. This teaching shows that there is no limit to how many times we should forgive. For Jesus, forgiveness was not just an isolated act but a way of life that reflects unconditional love. He made it clear that forgiveness is a two-way street. Just as we seek forgiveness for our own mistakes, we must extend the same forgiveness to those who wrong us. Jesus links our ability to forgive directly to our own experience of divine forgiveness. The importance of this lesson becomes even more evident when Jesus, in his time of suffering and injustice, offers forgiveness to those who condemned him. This is perhaps the strongest example of unconditional forgiveness. Even in his moment of greatest pain and humiliation, he teaches that forgiveness is not deserved, but granted by grace. We must be able to forgive even in the most difficult circumstances. Applying this lesson in our daily lives can be a great challenge. The modern world is filled with hurts, offenses, and injustices that often make the act of forgiveness painful and difficult. However, we are called to transcend these difficulties. Forgiveness begins in the heart, requiring us to let go of resentment, anger, and the desire for revenge. This does not mean ignoring or justifying the wrong committed, but rather freeing oneself from the emotional burden that these hurts carry. Many people believe that forgiving is letting the other person get away with it, or that it somehow lessens the severity of what was done. However, forgiveness is more about freeing your own heart from the burden of hatred and pain. It is an internal liberation, a personal act of reconciliation with oneself and others. Another crucial aspect of forgiveness is humility. We are reminded that we all have faults and need forgiveness in our own lives. Before judging or withholding forgiveness, we must examine our own hearts. A powerful example of the importance of forgiveness in our daily lives can be found in the parable of the unmerciful servant. In this story, a king forgives a large debt of one of his servants, but this servant refuses to forgive a small debt from a fellow servant. The king, upon discovering this, becomes outraged and revokes the forgiveness granted. This teaches us that we must be merciful to others just as we receive mercy. If we do not forgive, we exclude ourselves from the grace that is offered to us. In practice, forgiveness can be applied in our closest relationships, with friends, family, and co-workers. Small offenses can accumulate over time, creating divisions and conflicts. We are encouraged to approach these situations with a spirit of reconciliation, seeking to resolve misunderstandings and offering genuine forgiveness, even when it is not requested. This promotes peace and restores harmony in our relationships. Furthermore, forgiveness has a direct impact on our emotional and mental health. Unresolved resentment and anger can poison our soul, leading to stress, anxiety, and bitterness. When we choose to forgive, we free ourselves from these negative feelings. This allows us to experience inner peace that can only be achieved by following a path of grace. Another key point is that we are called to forgive repeatedly. This can be especially difficult in cases of repeated offenses, but we are encouraged to persevere in forgiveness even when it seems hard. This does not mean tolerating abuse or allowing others to harm us continuously, but challenges us to cultivate a heart that is always ready to forgive. Forgiveness is a process. Sometimes it doesn't happen all at once. It may take time and reflection to overcome the hurt and let forgiveness blossom. We are encouraged to keep trying, trusting that with time, we will be able to fully forgive. In our modern lives, where selfishness and pride often prevail, forgiveness goes against the norm. It requires vulnerability, humility, and a willingness to place others above our own wounds. However, it is through forgiveness that we experience true love in action. Forgiveness is not weakness but strength, a testimony of our faith and trust in the power of restoration. Lastly, forgiveness is essential to our own peace. Forgiveness opens the door to receiving inner peace, which allows us to live in harmony with ourselves and others. In conclusion, the lesson of forgiveness is powerful and transformative. It challenges our human tendencies, but by following it, we experience true freedom and reconciliation. Whether in small daily offenses or larger wounds in life, forgiveness allows us to live in peace, love, and spiritual fullness. May we follow the example, forgiving as we have been forgiven, and let this practice lead us to a life of peace, love, and wholeness.